Hey there everyone, just wanted to create a quick video. So Nemo the Mormon, if you aren't aware of who this is, Nemo the Mormon is a YouTube channel run by Douglas Stilgo. He was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he was excommunicated officially today. And I just wanted to share some brief comments and thoughts on that. The first being that I personally am really disappointed. I think that if anyone was going to be able to escape excommunication, it would have been him. He's had a very solid arguments. He had a very tight and shut case. I don't think that... I think in the case of almost everyone else that has been brought before a disciplinary council, the case has pretty much been nailed in the coffin. From the public figures that I've seen. If there's some that you know of, you can definitely point me in that direction. Maybe Sam Young. I don't know a whole lot about that, but maybe Sam Young's another instance of that. However, even then, Sam Young was advocating to go against policies of the church that the church held at the time. And I'm in full support of Sam Young, by the way. But Nemo was able, and I think could have make the argument that he wasn't in opposition to any church policy, and I don't think he even incited or tried to change people's minds regarding that. I think which is ultimately one of the charges that he was charged with, that he was trying persistently to change the minds of and to persuade those around him. And I think that there's a very solid case to make that not that he's the only one who can speak to his intent, and he said that that's not his intent. But there's nothing in his content inherently that would indicate that that's his goal. He was very neutral in all of his content. So, with that being said, the comment that I wanted to make was I think that this is a very dangerous precedent. It's a very threatening precedent to set, because if Nemo can be excommunicated essentially on not solid grounds for just sharing, not even sharing his personal opinions or beliefs, just sharing material. A lot of times he would just share material of prophets, two clips paired next to each other, and they contradict themselves. So I think that this is a very threatening move to someone like Dan McClellan, for example. I think that Dan McClellan, in an effort to avoid a lot of these things, he never comments on his personal beliefs, is what he says. And sometimes I think it slips out. I think he very much states his support of LGBTQ, and that's a personal belief he's willing to state, and other things like that. But for the most part, generally, he won't give a firm statement against or for his beliefs regarding the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And you could make the argument that his content takes people out of their faith and harms their faith. And you can also make the argument that it helps people in their faith. And the thing is, you can make that same argument with Nemo. And he sent in, I believe it was 1,145 emails. Could have easily got that number wrong. I know it was 1,000 plus. Of people stating in his defense that he didn't affect their faith. And so, once again, Nemo's content I can easily see it hurting someone's faith, right? I'm fine stating that. He's showing, and I guess I should be more precise with my words, right? Because is it really his content, or is it what he's showing that's hurting the faith? Because that's another crux of his argument, is he's just showing what the apostles and prophets are doing. It's their actions and their words that are hurting the faith of people. He's just shining the light on it, right? But I can see at least a decent argument to be made that, hey, you're organizing it and putting it out there and showing these contradictions and making it more available to people. And that act is participating in the harming of faith. But like I said, that's not necessarily the stance I hold. I'm just saying that that's an argument that you could make. But like I said, that's worrisome for someone like Dan, because he's essentially hiding behind that principle of, I'm not talking about my beliefs or my intent, I'm just sharing information. And Nemo is just sharing information. So this excommunication could be very well the first we see in a line of excommunications here that could happen. And I think, I actually don't think Dan McClellan would view it this way. I don't think he'd be worried at all. But I personally, from this way that I'm seeing things, I think that it is something to think about and be worried about, because if you're just sharing information and that information could be deemed as harmful to someone's testimony or someone's faith, and all you did was shine the light on it, all Dan did was share the academic consensus, if you can be excommunicated for that, I think that there's a lot of people out there who probably could be feeling a little worried right now. So those are my just initial thoughts. Obviously, I do not think excommunications should be a thing. I think that, I guess I should amend my statement. I think excommunications can be a tool used for some of the most severe situations. I don't think for apostasy should really ever warrant excommunications. I think excommunications should probably, if they're going to happen, go hand in hand with something such as sexual abuse or disorderly public conduct, right? Like, hey, you just come to church and you're drunk and you ruin it for everyone. We're excommunicating you. If you are a member, you're not welcome here. I could see it in that instance, but yeah, I do see the harm. And I'm in a car right now. I just got out of therapy. I attended group therapy, and a lot of what I learn in therapy, a lot of these techniques and a lot of ways to look at things, and even experiences that I've heard from people that I know who have been through excommunications, it's not a good experience. It doesn't actually help the person. Many times it actually hurts the person, and the person themselves has to pick themselves up and repair that themselves. For example, I think that even in instances where most people, I think, associate excommunications with sexual misconduct or cheating on your wife or your husband. From what I've heard from a lot of stories, the questions asked are bad questions that don't help anyone, that don't need to be asked, that are only asked in a sense to just shame the person in a toxic way. And that's not helping anyone. And that's not how they should be held. And that's not going to change behavior. If anything, that's going to drive the person away. I think a statistic that was brought up in Nemo's live stream today is 2% of people come back from excommunications. So clearly this is not something that helps people come back to church. So those are my thoughts. I'll keep it brief here. And I have a lot of content coming. I appreciate the comments. I'm going to try and respond to some. I'm going to try and do shorter videos and actually respond to some in videos. And I still am planning on breaking down the Light and Truth letter. I just have a lot on my plate. So I'm trying to figure out a better work-life YouTube channel balance here. So thank you, everyone. I never actually expected this much interaction with me on any of these videos. So that's been pleasantly surprising. And hopefully moving forward, I have very low expectations regarding excommunications, especially with Oaks sending out a training saying that and calling for more excommunications. But I really do hope that with enough pushback, with enough awareness made about how these just aren't helpful, how they're unethical, how a lot of the times they're not actual hearings, they're just decided beforehand. I think the more we shine light on this and the more frequent they become, hopefully the more pushback they get, and eventually this can be something that is just removed entirely from the church, accepting the most extreme of circumstances like I outlined earlier, if at all. So I hope that. I don't expect that, especially with Oaks. Oaks' training and him being the next prophet and everything. So anyways, if any of you have different thoughts or anything to say, or any other things to link me that might be interesting to read or a little bit more informed, I'd love to see it. Please leave me a comment pointing me in that direction. Thank you, everyone.